This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not replace professional mental health care. If you are in crisis, please contact your local emergency number or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Hello Human, your resource for grounded guidance on staying connected with ourselves and each other in these digital times. I am Dr. Joy.
And I'm Aaron Jones, LMFT. Hey, Dr. Joy.
Hey. How you doing?
I'm good. Good to see you. Nice to be
Good
back in
to
the studio.
see you. It is good to be back. And I'm going to tell you, this might be one of my favorite episodes. And I'm going to say that before we even record it because of
Okay.
the conversations that we had leading up to it.
Yeah, we had some good ones in the planning part. We had some really
the
good
prep
conversations about this
were
one.
so juicy. And it feels to me like one of the first times. I mean, I know that we've sort of disclosed and shared along the way here and there, but this feels like the most intentional share where we're really going to dive into our personal philosophies. So today's topic is beyond the trending topics, the power of a personal philosophy.
Yeah, I had to sit with even the title in itself, I had to sit with it for a while.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think it took me a long time to develop any kind of personal philosophy or
Yeah.
personal brand or anything like that. I think for a long time I was just kind of borrowing, values or virtues from like people around me or people who were positively like sowing into my life,
Sure.
And I guess I didn't give very much thought to it for a really long time.
Yeah.
But, since I would say probably my early 30s on up, I felt more in touch with having a personal philosophy and really wanting to live by that.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to talk about this one.
Same. And I think it's fair to say that many of us sort of inherit and internalize, right, the values and virtues of the people around us, the things that we see modeled, the things that are taught to us and shown to us, and even just sort of like, okay, you do this and I see you live a life that maybe I want to live, so I'm going to do this too, not necessarily checking in with how it feels or what it means as much as it is looking at it as like a means to an end.
Yes.
And then I do think there's a point in life where you start to mature to some degree, and something probably happens where you're like, hold on.
Right.
What am I actually doing here?
Like, the words that are coming out of my mouth are not my words.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I'm saying things that I'm like, I don't even believe that.
And they just stop fitting. Like,
Yeah,
it used to fit,
yeah.
it used to make sense, and maybe not anymore. And
Yeah,
now
definitely
I'm
not.
wanting to create and or attract, do and have something different. And it kind of forces you to go like, okay, well, what's my starting point for where to start to move
That's
towards
a great
that?
point. Yeah, that's a great point. And oftentimes we're so entrenched in our own personal philosophies or things that we bring to it because many of those things are gifted to us from our family, from our culture, from,
Society,
society,
and people around
life,
us.
right?
Yeah, sure.
So sometimes it can almost, or at least in my case, there was a little bit of transitional maybe guilt, right? Because I learned that I know. See, I told you this one was a good one.
Yep.
Because I was thinking about if I change this philosophy, am I forgetting where I came from? Am I not honoring my ancestors? Am I not, or is it okay for me to live my life essentially the way that works for me?
Yeah.
So far, I've been able to figure out sometimes yes and sometimes no.
Yeah, for sure.
The guilt gets in the way though.
You are not lying.
I don't want to, you don't want to leave these parts of yourself behind. But also, it's not always appropriate to carry forward the things that we've held on to into the next phase of our life. Sometimes it can be, unnoticeably self-limiting in some way. Or at least in my experience, it was kind of that way.
No, I think you're right. And I think the dance of deciding when it's appropriate to hold on and when it's appropriate to let go and move forward you know, it requires a certain level of presence and it requires a certain level of honesty, vulnerability, all those things. So before we get too deep off in it, you know, we have to start with our temperature check.
Okay, we're going to start with the temperature check today. Folks, we do this at the beginning of every single show. We don't often get an opportunity to check in with one another, so we just want to demonstrate to the folks that checking in is so important. So before we get into everything that we need to do today and everything that we want to give you, let's just check in with each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I try to keep these light and fun. I try to keep them fun.
You do.
Okay. So this one, depending on the age of our audience, might get, might not. I mean, if you're an 80s baby, you probably got it.
Okay.
But, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. On a scale of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood to Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. You remember that skit from Saturday Night Live? Oh, Eddie Murphy skit, right? Okay.
Yes.
So similar setup.
Okay.
Right? Similar setup. We come in, we take, we take
similar
our clothes off,
very loose.
Off, very loosely, right? But I wanted to know, between Mr. Rogers and Mr. Robinson,
oh gosh,
how far out of your way did you go to help someone else this week?
Oh my.
There's a follow-up question.
Okay. Ooh, not a two-part. Okay.
Yeah, it's a two-parter.
How far out of my way did I? Not very far.
Not very far.
Because you know, I've just come off of a lot of big events with a lot of peopling.
Yes.
And
peopling.
As much as I am grateful for the opportunities to share and do the things that I get to do in the world, it takes a lot.
I know, you're tired.
And I'm not only tired, I have to I don't even know the word. Like it's like energetically, I have to like recalibrate. Yeah. Like it's not tired. Because if I'm being honest, it's kind of energizing because it really is my passion when I do the things that I like. I'm so grateful for the work that I get to do, and it takes me down.
Yeah.
And I need part of me being able to do what I do is that I also prioritize the time that I need to get what I need
to it and recharge.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is one of those seasons where these last couple of weeks have been a lot of that. And so starting, I would say, like, I don't know, the last week or two, I've been like, okay.
Pulling back, resetting.
And and you want to hang out, you want to do this, and I'm like, I
want to. The spirit is
maybe
willing.
It's that.
The spirit is willing, but the body is.
But the body says,
battered
"Sat down somewhere, girl."
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I hear
How
that.
About you?
It's a really good question. When I was even writing it down, I was thinking, have I been helpful this week? You know what? And I really don't think that I have been that helpful to many people this week. And I tell you why I led with this kind of comparison is because talking about personal philosophy today and things of that nature, like it is a personal philosophy of mine to be helpful.
Okay.
Right. I enjoy being helpful. I know that, there's two parts of that coin, right? Sure. Part of it is, egocentratic. Being helpful feels good to me. Yep. Right. I like it.
Yeah.
The other part of that is what I'm doing, does it feel good to the other person? Is it meeting the need? Is it meeting the requisite for the other person to feel as if they are being helped, right? So it's a bit of a two-parter for me. So I have to actually pull this back sometimes because I want to help people that don't want to be helped.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a curveball.
Okay.
You didn't see the curveball coming. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to help people that don't want to be helped, right? And sometimes I experience this in my personal life. Sometimes I experience this in my professional life. And listen, I know I'm leveraging a lot of pressure on the person in the receiving space of my particular brand of help. Listen, I know I got an ego. I
appreciate the self-awareness.
I know that. I am aware. So sometimes what I'm learning is I'm learning a little bit more sensitivity around how to be helpful with healthy boundaries, communicating those boundaries well, having healthy limits on those things, and also minding my own business.
Everybody ain't your assignment.
You know what I mean? That part.
Everybody
That part
is not your assignment. And that is a difficult lesson to learn when you're empathetic, when you know that you have something that could be.
Yes.
But we have to remember that we are doing all of that assessment inside of our own value system, inside of our own understanding of what's going on, inside of our own desire for whatever outcome we think would be
and our own capacity
helpful, all
to do
of those
any
things,
of it. Yeah.
and our own capacity to even do the things. And so, yeah, that is a tough one. That's a tough one to learn, but it's such an important one because it stops us from becoming resentful of our relationships when we are pouring in and we perceive a person to not be receiving in the ways that we hoped or thought they would or should.
Right.
And also, it can save the relationship because I didn't ask you. And yes, mind your business.
That part.
Like, I'm doing what I'm over here doing.
That part.
Who said you got the answers?
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah, and it's something that I constantly have to tune in with myself about, not to overstep, someone else's boundaries that they clearly have. And also, what I'm learning over the years too is sometimes stepping in too soon can really block the other person from receiving their blessing, right? Receiving that learning, receiving
the learning
that,
and the growth. I think about this as parents all the time. I'm like, one of the hardest things you got to be able to do as a parent is like see the pothole and watch your kid walk directly into it and not warn them because you understand that that's a pothole that if they don't learn early how to navigate, it's going to trip them up for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Woo, that's a tough one because again, you want to save and fix and help. And,
it came up
it's not always
crazy this week at work. When working and helping with some of the couples that I work with, and seeing myself reflected in those stories, seeing us as Black people kind of reflected in those stories. The stories about Black love and all that. And sometimes I'm a romantic. Like I get a little caught up in it. I get really, really interested in helping couples really figure it out and emphasizing on maybe preserving something rather than losing everything. And some of that is my own work, but some of it I embrace as a different take on community building too. So in the position of being a clinician, I really do have to straddle that line with a lot of conscious awareness. So the question of itself is a little bit of a setup.
Okay.
Right? Here's the caveat.
Okay.
How far out of your way?
Yep.
See, that was the caveat. And that was the one that you felt.
I heard it.
That was the one that you felt.
The out of their way part is
do we ever have to go out of our way? Hey, listen, that's a relational question, maybe for another episode, but I just wanted it to linger there. What does it mean?
Fair.
We don't know. Again, I don't always have to have the answers, right? Demonstrate in real time.
Yeah.
I don't always got to solve it. It's just going to linger out there.
Well, let it linger.
Let it linger. All right. That's the temperature check.
Okay. Well, now that we are sort of checked in and we know where we are on the scale of help and all that, and part of what you're saying too is respecting other people's personal philosophy, right? Like if I have a personal philosophy and I think this is the path and that philosophy doesn't align with how you see the path going.
Right.
Now we're talking about when we're projecting or imposing versus actually being helpful in the way that we intend to. So a lot of context.
Yeah, it's pretty meta. It's pretty meta, but I'm looking forward to circling back around to it at some point. I think we can pick that apart.
And so now that we know where we are, let's talk about what this episode feels like.
Okay, here's my turn. Hot seat. I'm having a physical reaction. I'm rocking in my seat already. Trying to find the safety.
This is interesting because today's episode feels like anchorvation. For those who don't know, this segment of the show is where we create language to help us give a voice to what we're experiencing, particularly as it relates to the content of the episode, but generally as it relates to navigating this world that we live in, which is so new in a lot of ways and so different in a lot of ways that I think sometimes we don't always have language that really speaks authentically and accurately to the experience. And so this is my attempt at creating language.
I love it too.
That
it's great.
Resonates with me when I think about this content as we've prepped today's episode.
And you've done such a good job over this season of doing that. My thought is like, how does she keep coming up with all these?
You have to see my process. One day I'm going to tell you the process because it's a whole thing. I gotta like sit with the thing, read it. It's like meditation, close my eyes. It's a whole thing. Oh my goodness! Because I'm like, what are the sentiments, the words that come up, the feelings? What's really underneath all of this? It really does allow me to get fully present with like what's coming up when I'm dealing with the content of whatever the episode is.
Yeah, I love that. And all words are made up anyway. So let's just keep making up words that fit. Because there aren't good words sometimes. Yeah. So I like this one. I think I can take a swing at it. Maybe if I work backwards though.
Okay, go.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So anchorvation. So it makes me think of activation. Right, the last part of it.
Okay, fair.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about maybe being inspired or something like that, being inspired to do something, but maybe being more grounded as you do it or something like that. Like I'm thinking, I'm taking it a little bit literal here. So I'm thinking like the anchor part of it feels like grounding.
Yep.
Right. And then the vation, I just feel like activation, like grounded activation or something.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually fair.
Is that?
And I can see how you got there based on past episodes. Right? Fair.
Based on the way you logic.
No. And you're learning the inner workings of my mind. It's fair. It's a fair
Okay.
swing.
Am I close?
Super close.
Super close? Okay.
So if we're going with sort of just the etymology,
word, bring it.
So anchor, yes, is there. And the vation, I understand how you got to activation. I was thinking in my mind, elevation.
Elevation. Okay.
I was trying to capture the tension between staying anchored and grounded, right? Which is you spoke to that. So feeling anchored and grounded and rooted, kind of in, because principles, as we'll talk about later, if we're talking about our personal principles or personal philosophy, it's really a combination of our values and virtues and principles, right? Yes. So we've talked about values and virtues, and then the principles are like then the actions, right? So the values is like what matters. The virtues are the character traits that sort of you embody that align with what matters to you. And then the principles are the guides for the behavior that you will enact. That's what's up. Right? And so in my mind, as we're doing that, that inevitably leads to some level of elevation, growth, expansion in our consciousness, in our impact, in our understanding of self, whatever that is. And also the point of having the principles and all of that is so that as you do that, you have a sense of grounding, you have a sense of rooting, you have a sense of something that, in my mind, I'm thinking about a touch tree. I don't know if you know this concept of a touch tree, when it's like, I'm going out into the woods, but I have my tree that I know when I go out here, because all these trees look the same, I don't know what's going on. I know which tree I'm coming back to let me know that I'm on the right path.
And that's super important if you're someone who's, like a world traveler or someone who finds himself lost in forest or whatever. It's actually a really good thing.
Just be lost in the forest.
Seriously, it's a good thing to understand. Hey, all these trees look the same, but that one right there is different. That's my way home.
Exactly.
This is where I am. Exactly. Right. So I like that. I really, really like the idea of the tension between the two.
Yes.
The tension between staying the same and sometimes grounding can feel like staying the same because grounding feels safe, and sometimes we feel weird about feeling safe.
Sure.
But that tension part is so good. I immediately thought of like, what would it if I'm holding on to like a hot air or not a hot air balloon, but like what is it, helium balloon?
Yeah, helium.
Right, and I know that if I let it go, right, it's gonna go off, and it just gave me images of like these little kids, like barely letting go and then jumping and get it, and they can't, right? And there's like this tension in the sense of like, I want to hold on to this thing, and I know this isn't a permanent state of things, but I'm gonna hold on to so tightly, and then I don't want to let it go, right? And how that kind of shows up for me sometimes is working with more creative projects, for example, right? I'm a very logical person. In the work that I do, it doesn't take creativity in the sense of creating something from start to finish, right? You get a lot of input from people in the room, so it's co-created, right?
Yeah.
But I feel a lot of tension when I'm doing creative projects because I don't feel that creative, right? But I know that it is a growth pattern, a stretch pattern. I can be creative if I allow myself to sink into it and get more comfortable with not having to be right, not having to be exact, not having to be, whatever that's about. And then I can allow the creative process to go. But there is a lot of tension, right? So I'm so glad you mentioned that today. Yeah, that's a great word.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's
I
what
feel that
this
in my body.
episode feels like. Well,
Yeah, I feel that in
let's
my
get into
body.
that, because we have been sort of talking about what it takes, or some ideas around, I should say, sharing our thoughts and insights around what it means to consciously navigate this world, right? And we've been talking about things like virtues and values, excuse me, when it comes to staying connected to what feels true to you, discernment, right, in navigating these spaces. So we've been talking about this as just as a general thing to keep in mind as we're navigating this world. How are you being mindful of the things that matter to you, that are true for you, that align with what you believe? All of this, right? Like, how are you not getting lost in some of the messaging and things that want to manipulate and or influence how we think, how we feel, how we behave? In ways that, we just want to bring awareness to that. But what we haven't really shared a whole lot about, which we're going to dive into a little bit more today, is while we're sort of guiding people and reminding them to stay connected to their truth, we haven't really shared our own.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right? We haven't shared our own. And so as we're moving into today's episode and we're talking about personal philosophy, I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to think about what are our personal philosophies, and particularly as it relates to AI.
I have a lot to say about that.
I know, because as we prep for this episode, you really did make me aware of a blind spot that I just I was not, and to be honest, I'm still kind of sitting with it, because I'm like, but I receive what you're saying and I understand it completely. And it did wake me up to something that I was thinking, okay, that wasn't the intention, but I see how we got here and why it's important to at least consider, like, what would it look like to zoom out a little bit more, right? And I'll tell you, it was particularly the conversation we had where you mentioned being a child watching Star Wars and looking forward to the time when we lived amongst robots and computers and things. And
I remember.
And I'm like,
I remember that.
Oh, I never, like, it's not that I ever wasn't looking forward to this. I never was either.
Yeah.
I just sort of, it's here now. Though, like, robots are here. They deliver our food. Like, things are happening, right? We see robots. We have self-driving cars. Like, these are robots to me that I'm like, okay, they're here now. What does it mean? So I didn't have I'm growing up looking forward to this moment, and now it's here and I'm excited about it. I'm more like, oh, what? This is crazy. What are we going to do? Because I'm thinking about all of the implications of what it means. And so when it comes to, let's just sort of get into it. Because when it comes to, when I think about what my personal philosophy is around this, my inclination is towards robots are here and they can be helpful in all these wonderful ways. And I see the implications of this if we're not consciously navigating our relationship to introducing these things into our society in these sort of very integrated and meaningful ways, right? So I'm like, for me, it's like, okay, they're here. This is great. And we should be thinking about what this means, because it is going to fundamentally change how we move through the world, how we relate to each other, how we understand ourselves, what the meaning of a lot of things. And I'm like, not afraid of it, but definitely being like, this is happening. And I think it would be silly to not say, what does this mean for humanity as a whole? To me.
Okay. No,
right?
the conversation about AI and robotics and automation often drift into this area. And I remember we were talking about it because you were so surprised that I had that experience of wanting this technology to come to fruition.
Right.
But there were things that you didn't exactly know about my story, right, that I told you. And well, one of those things, for example, is just as a child, you know, the media that I consumed, the things that I was interested in, you know, always had a very cautionary but favorable depiction of robots and sentience and helpfulness. Like I think of something like the Transformers, for example, and how every, you know, robot in there had their own personality, and it introduced this whole idea around them caring for each other and becoming a family and things of that nature. So that is what really led me to think about this. But my personal philosophy around it is one that surprisingly does incorporate quite a lot of humanity. And humanity is my central point of my philosophy in this. When I hear people think about AI and automation, the first thing I normally hear is people think of, how can this serve us as humans? How can this make our life easier? How can it make it more convenient? How can I, you know, whatever, right? But there's another side to that, because one of the things that I think about is, if at some point in the future, machines, you know, whatever, become self-aware, sentience, right? They understand that their place in the world. I don't want to be an overlord. I don't want to think of this entity as someone only created or something only created to serve me. Right. So I think it will challenge and expand our ideas on humanity. But the trickier part is, at what point do I look across at this robot and see you as a person? That's when everything really changes. And if I see you as a person, then my ethics, my ethos implore me to treat you as a person, not as someone who's here to serve me or someone with whom I need to enslave.
And fair. And I align with that. I don't necessarily want to have the relationship where, to your point, it's just an enslaved machine that just only does what I want it to do. I haven't all the way arrived at, you are a person. I need time.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know what that is, but
that's okay. Not today, but
but I will say I can appreciate what you're saying, which underneath sort of the specifics of it, what I'm hearing is, we will be in relationship to these. We are in relationship to these things. And so I think we're kind of asking the same question, is like, what does that mean? And how are we choosing to engage in that relationship? And I think you've given this much more thought in terms of the relationship in the traditional sense of my understanding of that,
right,
which
between
is
like person to person.
And you've given it much more thought, likely because, to your point, the things you've been exposed to and how you've seen that relationship play out in ways that I don't have a reference for.
I know.
And so I don't necessarily have a thought about. And now that it's here, I feel like I'm now having to think about it in this kind of way.
And you should, because they're not, you know, it's not going anywhere. Technology is going to progress. And why not be at least a little curious, if not excited about it? Hey, listen, I'm excited about electricity. I do not want to go back to the days to where there's no electricity. I'm excited about electricity. I'm excited about technology. And also, we have to be good stewards over it, yes.
Sure.
But, you know, cat's out of the bag. I ain't giving Prometheus back the fire. I got it. We here. We cooking food. We here now.
We're doing things.
We're doing stuff.
No, that's fair. That is super fair. And so the challenge, and specifically the other thing that you said as we were preparing for this episode that really made me pause and think about where I stand and what my principles or what my philosophy is around integrating. I'm saying AI, but I think it's not just AI, because we also understand that there's generative AI, right? Which is
Yes.
like
Yes.
one thing.
Yes.
And then there's like, AI that is in many ways serving humanity. Not that that's its only purpose, but that in many ways, is in terms of like medical research
Of course.
advancements and
Of
all kinds of
course.
other things that
And
it's making life, any ways that it's making life efficient and all of that. And that I'm like, I'm here for it. But there's certain elements, specifically again, the generative AI, especially and specifically as it relates to the creative world. And there's some challenge that I have around what I believe art is, and how we do that. And I'm still figuring that out, because I have some really big feelings around somebody doing a prompt and being like, I made a thing, and I'm like, did you? Like, and
I feel
I
that.
don't know, I feel.
As an educator, I feel that side of
Yeah,
it as well. At
yeah.
what point does it like impede on things like scholarship, for example? What does research look like? What does integrity in research look like moving forward? And these are all big questions that we absolutely have to answer, and I'm with that.
Sure.
But answering these questions, I think, is exciting, because not only is it going to increase our understanding, it's also going to, I really believe, increase our capacity as humans to do different things. And also, it's just a gentle reminder. You mentioned before about, how some technology exists to help humanity and to
Sure.
serve it, and you can kind of compartmentalize it and keep it there, feel safe. But when I hear that, I think,
Yeah.
how incredibly human as well, right? There are parts of this function in
Sure.
this body that was made to serve and service humanity, but
Right.
that's only one part of me.
Oh,
Can we think
interesting.
about
That's interesting.
allowing different parts of personhood, quote unquote, to develop?
When you say part,
Hmm. I know,
there's
stumped you. I
because
know. I got a
no,
lot to
well,
say about this. So.
yeah, no, I know. And you said a thing that specifically tied into, if we're talking about like personal philosophies, one of the things that really guides sort of my understanding of my life is this idea that my purpose is service. And generally, and more generally speaking, that everyone's purpose is service, and that the life is, what are your gifts?
Hmm.
And then how are you actively seeking the opportunities to serve?
Hmm.
And what does that look like? So, who are you serving? How are you serving? I ask myself those questions as guiding pillars when I'm starting a new thing. Who are you serving? How are you serving? Why does this matter? And if you're just doing it, not that me just doing it for my fun or whatever is not a thing, because I have those things as well. And so when you say parts, is it that you mean like this is a singular expression, or
Yes.
because when I think about that, I think like, well, it's all service, right? Like my
Yes.
whole everything is that, and it's all sort of pointing back to, at the end of the day, I am making a mark,
Yes. But
whether it's in an individual's life or in a whole industry
yeah.
or in the scope of time. And historically, people will look back and go, "Oh my God, Dr. Joy," whatever it is. On some level, there's a part of me that feels like this all boils down to service, all of it. But that again is
Okay.
personal philosophy.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think what can be challenging sometimes in a conversation like this is thinking about a relatively inanimate object, right?
Mm-hmm.
As robotics kind of stand and AI kind of stand now, right?
Sure.
We can interact with it, we can do some things, not a ton of stuff, but at the same time, having a one-dimensional experience with the technology or AI, right? Can we allow our minds to expand to multidimensionality when we're thinking about how this might evolve into,
Yeah.
right? Something that you can see as a person and have a conversation with. And as a matter of fact, I love the questions that you ask. I think there might be some space for you in this whole deal because,
Sure.
AI is like looking for people to help incorporate and instill some of those more relational questions, right? That things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it could come a day where a robot walks in and we ask them, "Oh, what's your function? Who do you want to serve? How do you want to serve? And they might have an opinion. And they might say, I'm here sweeping up the trash, but I can do so much more.
Oh, well, yeah, hey.
Well, yeah, once I think about this entity as a person, then all the rules that I hold for myself or for you or for anyone else apply now.
Fair.
So I have to be concerned.
Yeah.
About this entity, this being.
Sure.
Right? I'm concerned for my computer. I'm concerned when it overheats. I'm concerned when it doesn't do what it needs to do. I'm concerned when it doesn't come on and it doesn't really talk back to me.
Well, so the thing, and this is where I have some space, as you said earlier, because in my mind, sure, and you're concerned about these things in the context of, will it work for the things I needed to work for when I needed to work? When I turn it on, I need it to function. Mm-hmm. And if it's showing me signs that it might not, my concern is in the context of whether or not this thing will do or be what I needed to do or be for me and the reasons I bought it.
But also,
right?
It's
not because I'm like, oh no, are you hurt, computer? I hope you're not. Like, I don't know that I have that.
I'm strange, maybe I talk, you know what I mean? Like if it's running hot, I'm looking, I'm like, hey, what's wrong? Like we got a lot of work to do today. Like I can't have, you know what I mean? Where are we at?
That is hilarious.
But anyway, hopefully we can revisit this topic in the future, but to kind of, put a button on it a little bit, I think it's a very important question to ask ourselves because I believe the next evolution of humanity is going to be some sort of organic tech kind of integration. And I think I'm here for that. I think I'm here for people to have robotic limbs that work again. I think I'm here for people to have, robotic hearts that pump again and work again. I think I'm here for people to look at, a robot who's been so helpful to their family and maybe something that they can pass along generationally to have an experience with this. I think I'm looking forward to that. At bare minimum, I'm looking forward to solving the problems.
See, and what you're naming to me, those things, somebody having a robotic arm or a heart, or even having a helper robot that they can pass, those things feel to me accessible in this moment. What does not feel accessible is the independent sentience, the self-awareness, a personhood in the form of a robot. Not that I'm like, where you say you're excited about it, I say I'm neutral about it because I just am like, well, what does that even really mean? And I don't know that we can answer that until we're in it and living it and doing the things, which, according to every movie I've ever seen, is a terrible idea.
Well, right? But also a lot of the reasons why they're terrible. But that's my point. And then maybe we can move on. But the reason why a lot of these robot apocalypses happen in these movies is because humanity has mistreated the robot.
Tried to enslave as opposed to accepting that they are a full.
Yes.
Listen, let
exactly.
me find out. You are the optimist in this episode, and I'm struggling with pessimism. I'm going to say this, if I can be completely honest. What you're saying makes sense to me intellectually. And because of the person I believe myself to be based on my values and my virtues, I want to be open to all of this and say, absolutely. But there is a part of me that feels less open-armed about it and more like
protective.
Peeking through the door with the little chain on, like, okay, I know you out there, and let me see. Like I can
appreciate that.
That's where I am, like emotionally, but intellectually, based on the picture you're painting, I can see. I want to see myself getting there. I'm gonna take my time.
That's okay.
I'm gonna take my.
You don't have to be. You don't have to be an early adopter. Like that's okay.
And I'm not
that's
that.
Okay. That's okay.
Generally am not that. So that at least I'm consistent. At least I'm consistent. I'm going slow creep every time. But so before we slide out of here, right. I want to make sure that we offer a rooted reflection. So we've shared right about where we stand and what our personal philosophies are. around, the integration of AI and robots and all of these things into our lives in a more personal, relational way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to invite you all to write your own sort of very short, very brief personal philosophy or declaration using this sentence. You can fill in the blank. So you'll say, I believe, and you'll write what you believe. Therefore, I choose. You'll write what you choose. And then finally, and I commit. Right. And so I believe that there is an opportunity for us to really begin to think deeply about how we're integrating AI, robots, computers in this advanced way into our lives when it comes to our relational interactions. And because of that, I choose to stay open and continue to research and have these conversations that challenge my perspective and open me up to new ideas and insights. And finally, I commit to living in alignment with the person that I am and I believe myself to be, especially in the moments when I'm challenged and when it's not so easy to do that, because that is what it means to have an anchor even as you elevate. So even as I open my mind up to new possibilities, I want to stay anchored in, because I believe I am the type of person who does not want to enslave another being. And despite how much more convenient that seems to protect my sense of safety, because I don't choose to be that kind of person, I have to let myself expand what it means to extend that type of grace or whatever it is, consideration to another being in a manner that is different from the practice that I'm currently in. And so that would be, if as an example, my declaration or personal philosophy as it relates to what it means to commit to AI and in the integration of all of those things in a more relational way.
Right on. I really appreciate that. And thanks for being open. I knew that this would be a little bit more challenging conversation for you because you are so human relational.
Sure.
And I really deeply appreciate that. So I appreciate letting me be nerdy about it. I obviously have a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
And there will be more in the future for me to say about this. But I think in this regard, I am the optimist today.
Yes.
Which is so different.
I love that for you.
I am uniquely uncomfortable. Okay. All right, folks. Well, thanks so much for giving us your time and attention. And until we meet you again, take this with you. My character aligns with my values and my behaviors reflect my vision. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Simple.
All right, y'all.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.